Okay, another episode of a podcast. Your host Stephen Maxted, and today we have Rachel Teichroew with Bungalow Interior Design, and excited to have you on here. I know we've connected through another mutual business connection, which is not so uncommon in the Winnipeg, but as I'm discovering through the podcast thing, the global business world is kind of small in weird ways, just like Winnipeg is. So it's
Yes,
great to have you
absolutely.
in on here. And yeah, I was excited about this. Well, I'm excited to learn a little bit more than I already do about the business. So I remember kind of, yeah, creeping on and stuff and understanding, yeah, little bits and pieces about it. But I want to start by hearing a little bit about yourself. So how about you introduce yourself to the listener here today?
Sure. So I'm originally from Winnipeg. I grew up here and I moved out to Southern Ontario, London, Ontario, for about 7 years after high school to go to school for interior design. And I spent about 4 years there actually studying and then 3 years practicing after that. And started in municipal, that's with the City of London design and commercial design. And then decided to move back to Winnipeg, back home, and really wanted to get into residential design. So when I moved back, I was finding it difficult with my my college degree, college diploma, advanced college diploma, to find a position in Winnipeg that used my skills and wasn't on the decorating side, but was on the design side, which is where a lot of my skills lie. And so I decided to go back to school. I went back to the U of M and I did the Bachelor of Environmental Design program and got my 4-year degree. So all in all, I've done 10 years of post-secondary. 8 of those years were in design school and 2 of them were in art history, kind of in between. And
Cool.
That's how I got back to Winnipeg. And I've worked, like I said, I started in municipal and I went to commercial, and now I'm very happily doing residential. So residential was always the end goal, and finally here and loving every minute of it. So just a short little breakdown of where I come from.
No, that's awesome. No, I'd love to hear it. Move away, do some education, come back, kind of critique the
Yeah.
education maybe a little bit more, and then get into what you truly want to do. But
Yeah.
before even getting into like the school part, what drove you to get into interior design?
It's funny. I had a friend in grade 6, and her mom was an interior designer. And I spent so much time at her house. And her mom's office was just off of the kitchen. It should have been a pantry in their house, okay? But it had all these windows in it, and she made it an office, and it was beautiful. And I just remember not only seeing her work, but also going along with her and my friend to some of her job sites and seeing the work that she was doing in person and just loving every minute of it. And I mean, the parts that I was seeing were kind of like the dirty on, during construction sort of parts. And I think if you can fall in love with that, then you can fall in love with the rest of it. My educational background is very technical, but I still love those moments on site because they kind of bring me back to that moment of, getting my hands dirty a little bit. And I've loved it ever since. So from there, I went and took drafting classes in high school, and that's kind of where I took off as far as educating myself in the field. So loved it. Still love it.
Awesome. That's super great to hear. And what makes what you're doing now specific? And I guess I have some questions about the name too, where this is kind of heading. But what makes it so special to be working on residential?
Residential is emotional. So when I was first going to design school in London, our teachers would say, don't do residential, don't do residential. Like, make sure you do commercial. There's more money in commercial. You have more free reign with your design choices. People don't live there, so they're not as emotionally involved. You know, you're able to make more decisions that you know you like, and there's bigger budgets and all those sorts of things, and that's all great and enjoyable for the short term. Don't get me wrong, but I really like to connect with homeowners. You're in their home. It's an emotional thing. They live there. And you really want to make sure that they're loving where they live. So that's very, very important to both myself and my business partner, Karina, who's also an interior designer. And so we really wanted to do residential, and I've always really wanted to do residential for that reason. I want to connect with people. I want them to be able to come home and really feel like they can relax in their space, that they can love where they're living, and feel like their space truly reflects who they are and what they've accomplished in life and where they're going. So that's kind of why we wanted to do residential.
No, that's awesome. I think that just even from understanding some stuff more on like the tech side, but then also doing some like time like early on in my career, like doing like landscaping and stuff like that, and just understanding like how important layout as a general comment is to things, whether it be on an app or in that side. I can't speak for the inside of a layout of a house. I've never changed a whole lot besides like flooring or nothing major. It sounds like this might be a little bit more of like a process, which I'm excited to learn about what that is like.
Yeah.
Um, but like it just makes a lot of sense to me. You want to be in a space that does reflect you, and you know we're always trying to accomplish that by buying different furniture. And I've literally recently done this in my own house, just upgrading a different island that I put off for a while in the kitchen. I wish I would have done it sooner because it changed
Right?
the entire room and the space, and that's a very small thing
It's
to
hard
change.
because
But
you want to change it immediately sometimes, but you wait and either save a little bit more money for it, or you wait to see how you use the space and have a deeper inner, lasting impact because you actually invested in that part of your home a little more, and you're lived in. When people, we just bought this home. We moved in 3 weeks ago, so there's still lots of boxes out of frame. But a lot of people, when we moved in, said, "Well, what are you going to do? What are you going to do?" Being an interior designer, they always want to hear my thought on it. And to be honest, we're just going to leave it the way it is for at least a year and not touch anything. And I think it's very important that people, get to know their spaces before they do anything with them. I just want to see how I live in the space, and I want to know how my clients live in the space. I want to know what lifestyles are, your lifestyle is. I want to know how you move in the space, how you function in the space. So those things are critical to the design process, because if we're not designing for how you naturally flow through your space or want to flow through your space, then we're not helping you. Right? So we want to make sure that you have a good handle on your own space first, and then we can help you kind of transform it into more. So you won't see anything change in here for a little while.
And that's okay. Like I mean, it's important to have strong bones and structure, most importantly, on the house that you do get. And then after that, like you said, I did a very similar thing in a way, I guess, when I was first in my place. So it seems like a little while ago now. But the things that I was the one doing everything here, but the flooring and stuff, it was like paint initially, changed a couple of things. That's what I did when I first had moved in. And then, like I said, nothing big. I think the floor plan has some limitations where I'm at now, but just did those upgrades of things that you realize afterwards you want to customize a little bit on the look side.
Yeah.
That was where it kind of got started, but I think that makes a ton of sense. How do you go about getting to know your client to the level that makes sense in terms of like we'll call it the intimacies of life though? how do they move around their house? Basically, I guess is ultimately what you're doing. Do you put up cameras to track them for a bit, or or trackers, and you just like watch their footprints, like where they go, or like
No, part of our process is starting with a discovery call. And it's very similar to what we're doing here today, where we just have an online chat. And that is a really good indicator of, a person's personality and who they are, kind of. And then from there, we go into a design consultation, and that's in the home. And in that consultation, we ask some fairly intimate questions about how you kind of move through your home. And we try not to be awkward about it, but we have to know certain things in order to design for you, right? So I've had to ask some questions that I wouldn't ask anyone else, right? Like, how big does your shower need to be? Is it just you in there?
Okay, good. I was thinking that you were going to go down this.
So there are questions that people answer and confide in us that they wouldn't talk about with anyone else, right? And so we hold that information, in a vault. We don't share that with others. But we really try to help people open up and show them that, we're designing for them to live better in their home. So whatever their lifestyle might be, whatever they want, however they want to live their life is totally fine. But we just need to know that so that we can help you live that to the best of your ability. We want to, if we're doing a kitchen, we want to know, who's in the kitchen. Are you cooking with your partner? Are you cooking by yourself? Are the kids running around? Do you like gourmet cooking? Are you more of a microwave person? We want to know the intimate details of, how you move and function in the space so that we can truly design to support that. So it can get, we do build really good relationships with most of our clients, and to the point where, we're really good friends at the end, because it does get very kind of emotionally intimate, and
Really?
People are confiding in things to you that they wouldn't normally. And so we take that, very seriously, and we want to, protect people's privacy while giving them everything they want. So, yeah.
I shouldn't have giggled at that, because that is like a good thing, but
it is.
the little 12-year-old boy in my head laughs. So, but no, that's a very real thing in terms of like the flow of the lifestyle, like you mentioned, and the washroom is such an important part of the morning routine, we'll call it, or the evening routine, whatever time the routine is. But there's a couple of you in there. We've all managed the one sink program.
Yeah.
And or is that going to turn into two sinks? And again, like you mentioned, of like shower, bathtub, what's the reality of the best experience that you want to have in your house?
Yeah.
Or your lifestyle.
It could be as simple as like,
cool.
My husband and I are never really in the bathroom at the same time. So why do we need two sinks? We're not going to be brushing our teeth at the same time. So a lot of, master bathrooms will have two sinks. Well, to me, personally, that's a waste of space. Like, I'd rather have more counter space than sink, because we're never going to be doing that at the same time, ever. So, walking through like how you actually do things, like, are you and your partner in those spaces at the same time doing things that you need to be doing together? Or are you doing separate things? So these are sorts of things that we talk through, and we really try to get to know them. And so that when we actually get to the design part, we're asking, questions that kind of clarify things, but we've already really gotten to know who you are, and we've been in your home, so we've seen your style, we know what you like, and there's always going to be clarifying things along the way. But by the time that we're actually designing for you, we have a good handle on what you want and how you are. You see my cat up there?
Yeah, I know. I do the same thing with this. Yeah, I do. It's a fun. It's a virtual background, but it seems very alive.
Yeah. No, it's real.
That's awesome. What would you say from your experience? We mentioned, like, I know washrooms can be very important for the flow of the house, the design, where they're located,
Mhm.
different things like that. But from your perspective in the design, the interior design point of view, like, what is often seen as the most important room in the house, and why is that?
The kitchen, for sure.
Cool.
It's the heart of the home.
Awesome. Yeah.
Um, and it's where, the kitchen and bathroom are where you spend a lot of your time. And your bedroom. Your bedroom, you sleep for 8+ hours a night, hopefully. And so you want your
Yeah.
bedroom to be really comfortable, right? You have to relax in there. You want your bathroom to support your morning routine, your evening routine, and you want your kitchen to support everything in between. You're in the kitchen a lot, and it needs to flow with the rest of your house, even if it's not open concept. It needs to have some sort of flow with the rest of your house. You're using it every day. Many people, the majority of people, will eat 3 meals a day in there. Um, Even if you're taking
Yeah.
your lunch to work, you're still making a meal, right? So,
Right. You're still
um,
prepping in there.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, it's very important that it functions properly and that those certain areas of your home support your lifestyle. So,
Cool.
yeah.
I was guessing that. That was gonna be my I didn't wanna bet and necessarily be wrong or take away from what you were gonna say, and, but I'm kinda glad to hear you say that because that's where we just, like, added in, like, a slightly larger, like, island in the space. Like I said, it's kinda changed just, like, how everything moves in there,
Yeah.
and that was without your expertise, but it just kinda, like I said, had made one in there before, and then, it's like, "Oh, I should get this, like, bigger one from, IKEA," and it's working out wonderful.
Yeah. Good.
In the space, and it's just like it's but that does often, and I mean, in terms of, like, entertaining and having people over too, I'm sure that's part of the discussion when you're uh, chatting with folks around, what's
Oh,
important,
yeah.
and what's the capacity of the party room,
Yeah. And
as it were, right?
some of the questions are usually like, do you entertain? If you do, how many people are usually here? Is it a sit down thing?
Right.
Is it a standing only thing? Are you typically in the kitchen? Are you typically in the dining and living room? Are you typically outside? What time of year is it? What sorts of meals are you preparing? Like, it gets to the point
Cool.
where, we're asking a lot of those questions because we want to know, like, are you preparing full on turkey dinners 5 times a year? Like, that's important, right? Or are you
Yep.
entertaining with, appetizers once a week and need space to, lay it all out? Are you having 30 people over on a monthly basis? Well, they need places to sit, stand, and all those sorts of things. So, and flow, right? If you're using your backyard,
Right.
can you get out there without causing a traffic jam or a bottleneck or what have you, right?
Mhm.
So there's so many factors that we consider, and it really comes down to just talking to the person or the homeowners and really understanding them and their home. So
Awesome.
yeah.
Very cool. Now, what are you, like, looking to change in all the, like, for the listener here, just to, I guess, like, get in more detail and maybe a little bit more micro, is it recommendations on different, like, furnitures that you'd be adding or taking away from the room? Is it knocking down walls? Is it, like, changing where rooms are in the house sometimes? Kitchen maybe going back or coming up to the front of the house. What does it all entail, and what does that look like as, like, the recommendation on the other side of that? And then what does the move forward for
Yeah.
starting that process look like?
So it can be hard for some homeowners to understand the difference between a decorator and a designer and, say, an architect. And so we are interior designers. So we kind of land in the middle of that. A decorator will do more on the finishing side of it, furniture, paint, blinds, lighting, that kind of thing. An architect will construct a building or a structure, and we're in between. So we can build up to 3 stories, and we can do everything that a decorator does, and a lot of what an architect does, but we kind of put ourselves in the middle. So we don't have a stamp like an architect does. but we can do pretty much any project that you come at us with. So we work on a lot of renovations, of course, but we also do additions, custom homes, all sorts of things. So the bulk of our projects are usually kitchens and surrounding areas. So kitchen, living, dining room. That's kind of where the bulk of our projects are. Both Karina and I come from a kitchen background, so we just love kitchens. And they're really the room that we both probably love the most. But we really love those bigger projects too. The custom homes are particularly interesting to work on because you're looking at how spaces go together and the flow from one room to the next, and just how all the pieces come together is really interesting for us, the space planning. And then after that, the envelope and kind of designing how it actually will look. Function, it's always first and then form. So yeah, we do a lot of different things, and we kind of shy away from the decorator side. We don't want to do too much on that end, and we don't want to do too much on the architect end either. So we really try to squarely put ourselves in the middle. That being said, we are taking on a lot more furniture projects, but they're not standalone projects. So if you're working with us to do a design project and you want to add on some furnishing, we can do that for you. But we don't take on those projects just by themselves. So we work with some great distributors across Canada, and we can get some really neat pieces that you really can't get on a showroom floor. And so there's an advantage to working with us for that reason, where you can access things that you wouldn't be able to access otherwise. But yeah, we love. We get a bad I say we, but interior designers get a bad rap for always wanting to take walls down. It's a very it's a running joke in my own family that every house that I go into, they always look at me, okay, which wall do you want to take down? And
right.
I've actually put up a lot of walls, not just taking them down. So we really kind of do it all, I guess. So yeah, it's fun.
Cool. No, that's awesome. Definitely helps me understand it a little bit more in detail, and I'm sure for a listener here too is that's great to understand a little bit more around the specifics of what you're doing. But I mean, like within the furniture space too, there's some things that you can build furniture like into different aspects of the house too, right? Like I'm thinking, as I just mentioned, like kitchen island, this isn't totally like built in, it's just kind of built in, furniture piece, but you can build an island to look in a different way and become almost like your kitchen table, or be your kitchen table in different aspects like that. So you could kind of be building into the space in terms of the furniture itself, and maybe take down a wall or put one up to be that same.
Depends on style, right? So if you're like I'm working on a Japandi kitchen right now, which a lot of people aren't familiar with that style, but it's very kind of clean. It's Japanese, sort of very clean, modern wood and white and stone, that kind of thing. That's going to be very simple, right? And so the island, fairly simple. If you're looking for more of like a homestead feel, then you might go for something that has, a table integrated into the island where you can actually, sit on the island. So it's also about lifestyle. Like if you have young kids, a lot of parents want to be in the kitchen while the kids are at the island doing their homework or whatever. So, understanding lifestyle will kind of help, dictate what you actually get at the end of the day. So, yeah.
Totally. What stage of life are a lot of your clients at when they're doing that? You're talking about like a young family in that example, but is that often the case, or is it folks that are kind of like later on and they're like, I just always wanted this dream room help us design it, or what does that look like?
It's a little bit of everyone. And to be honest, we're getting a lot of people in their 30s reaching out and
Awesome.
renovating, which is great because I'm in my 30s and I can really connect with those people really well. And so that's been really, really fun. The bulk of our clients are probably more in their 40s to 60s. That's where the bulk is. But it's
Yeah.
like I said, we've been getting a lot of great couples in their 30s. You know, they've established themselves enough to um, afford a renovation. That's kind of, you know, a big deal.
Sure.
They've had their home. This is their first or their second home. They've figured out if they want kids or don't want kids, right? So they've kind of got this idea of what their
Nice.
house is going to be like, right? And so
Yeah.
now they're able to invest in it. Some of our oldest clients are probably in their late 60s, early 70s. But most of the people are in the 40s to 60s, so they're either just at the end of their kind of working life and they're retiring and they want that space that they've dreamt of for decades, right? Or they're at that point in their life where, yeah, you know, I might as well just invest in this space because I want to stay here with my family. And they might have young kids still, or teenagers, or kids in their 20s, and it's just time. It's just time to invest in their home. So we get all sorts of types, and it's really nice to get a little peek into everyone, because everyone is so different, and it really goes to show you that, you know, you should really design for you. That's very apparent because every single person is different, and we always say, you know, we get a lot of questions about, well, is this still going to be in style, or is this a trend, or those sorts of things. We always answer that with, like, do you love it? Because if you love it, it's never going to go out of style. Other people might think it goes out of style, but if you have fallen in love with it and it's in your home, it doesn't matter to anyone else. It only matters to you. So it's really nice to get a peek into how other people live and how other people kind of embrace their home as well. So it's fun.
Wise words.
Yeah.
Wise words. I like that a lot. No, for sure. I mean, you can hear influences from trends and other things, and things that were popular a long time ago you might have always liked and are maybe coming back in a style.
Yeah.
Very timingly, but at the same breath, something from 5 years ago that you just are really attached to, the look of it, furniture, color of car, whatever it is. Stick with what you like, you know, or if you still
by
like
all
it, then go
means,
with that, right?
if you want to follow the trends, then follow the trends. There's nothing wrong with that. But we get a lot of people, you know, second guessing themselves about, you know, should I do this? Is it going to go out of style? Well, if you love it, that's all that matters. It doesn't matter if I like it or not. I'll still design for you. What matters is that you like it. You're paying for it, and it's in your home, and you have to live with it. And do you love it? Yes. Then great. Let's do it.
Awesome. Love that energy. Okay, question about how did you come to name the company?
Yeah, it was tough.
It is challenging, for sure. It is. It's tricky no matter what you're naming a company, and I love the name too.
Thank you.
I just had to ask. Yeah.
Yeah. So, Bungalow Interior Design. So, one of the things that really connected Karina and I, and my business partner, Karina, was mid-century modern design. So we design in all sorts of styles, but we both really, really love mid-century. And so that's, you know, very kind of Mad Men look, but on a modern, kind of more modern than the classic Mad Men sort of style. And so that's what we connected with. And a lot of mid-century homes are bungalows. And we know, you know, we knew that we wanted to do residential. And so we really loved, you know, kind of naming it after our almost favorite sort of style, mid-century, which is usually a bungalow, so bungalow interior design. It's also kind of a play on words because when you shorten it to B.I.D, it's Bachelor of Interior Design. And that's what our degrees were before it became a Bachelor of Environmental Design. And so it's kind of
cool.
a bit of a play. It's obviously that degree is no longer valid in like they don't offer that anymore, but they still offer that degree in Ontario and all that. So yeah, it's just kind of a little tidbit there, but yeah, and it just, you know, it just kind of came together and we just love it. So yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. I knew that there was a story behind it. There had to be with a name like that. And I was just like, but I love it too. I mean, it's a specific
it took a while.
But yeah, but it's it does. Well, do you remember that process of, you know, looking at names and trying to figure out what that was all like what's it gonna mean? And
yeah, it took probably a month or two to come up with the name alone. So it was tough. Cool. And then making sure that, you know, we could get the URL and all those sorts of things. So
yeah, that's almost a starting point of where you should go to figure out if you should name it that, if like the domain is available for you to make a website nowadays. I know I've done that. Some stuff that I've done before too is kind of silly, but I would either get like a shirt made with the like maybe logo of it or something made just to be like, okay, like does that look all right? Like for some reason I needed to like touch it. Either it was like a shirt or a pen or even cards. And like it's not like they were like free, but I'd go as far as to like literally make that with like the design of like what I was thinking I wanted to name a company at different points. And I don't know if that's a common thing to do, but it kind of got me like excited or not excited about the name of it because I was like, oh, that looks silly, you know, or it doesn't quite look right for what I'm thinking.
Well, we're very visual people, right? So a lot of
you got it on your sweater.
Yeah.
Too. There you go.
Yeah. A lot of our process was coming up with the logo, right? And do we like the logo and how does it look? And you can't really see it, but it's like a kind of it's got
bungalow and then underside.
It's all diagonal in our logo. So that's kind of also a play on mid-century. And like there's just so many little details that we put into it. We put a lot of details into our design work. And then we also want that to be reflected in our logos. Yeah, it took a while.
No, it's definitely like a tricky point. I'm always curious to like learn more. I know I've heard a couple of their businesses tell their stories and stuff, and I always find it fascinating and always very interesting too. Like sometimes it's been like a down to the wire moment, like had to come up with something because we have this already like coming in for business, or this was actually taken and we couldn't do it, so we had to call it, you know, XYZ. I just always find that like super fun because until people, you know that part of the storyline, sometimes it's actually like until they get like truly attached to the brand. But I think that's such a fun name. That's such a cool thing to see on like a brand too, is like bungalow like that. I'm fan of it, as I am, you know, most people's stuff I see. I'm like, okay, that's cool. Especially because it's just like they're different perspectives too, right? It's not like one's better than the other, whatever. Like in many ways, it's just really cool to see that from your lens and why you're excited about it. So awesome.
Yeah, we like it.
Very good. Do you think that some of the like time spent like renovating houses right now is a little bit to do with like I don't know if this is like too much of a segue here, but because of maybe like the cost of like moving or like finding that alternative living spaces made people reinvest in their own properties recently a little bit more? I don't know if that is to be the case. I'm kind of painting a path here, but
yeah, I think the pandemic really helped people kind of see what was important to them. And their homes are one of those things. Obviously we kind of before pre-pandemic were taking certain things maybe for granted that we don't take for granted anymore, you know, certain freedoms, going outside, those sorts of things. But, you know, we really wanted as a society to kind of reinvest in our homes because we were spending a lot of time in our homes.
Yes.
We weren't spending those vacation dollars on vacations. We were spending them on our homes. And that's kind of shifted a little bit. I think part of that is interest rates. Mortgages have gone up, with interest rates. And so people are having to invest more of their money
Right.
into their mortgages and less into their savings to save up for those renovations. And they're able to get away a little bit more on vacations. So just monies are kind of being reallocated a little bit. But
Right.
at the end of the day, your house is still getting older, right? And things are still needing to be done. And your style might change, or you move into a new home and you want to change it. So, the business is still there.
Totally.
Labor is still kind of at like a higher cost than it was pre-pandemic. Materials have kind of gone down a little bit. They're a little bit more normal now. Can't say that across the board, but they're much better. But it's really the labor that is
So
costing.
driving the cost up. Yeah.
Yeah. So we're still
Cool.
seeing a lot of people renovate, but it's definitely sort of evened out. It really went up there for a bit, and now it's,
Right.
so yeah.
No, I think that totally makes sense. I wasn't sure, if you'd seen like other patterns outside of that, but no, definitely people spent more time in their space and wanted to
Improve it.
change rooms. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Improve, upgrade. They're spending more time there. They're realizing, oh, this has been maybe like neglected for a period of time. I've had no reason to really pause and
Yeah.
change this to this point.
Well, and
So,
people's
but
lifestyles changed. You had to work from home. Well, now you have to find a
yeah,
spot to work. So where are you going to work? Right. So
right,
then your spaces have to change. And now we're in a period of time when, there's more of a hybrid going on where some people are working half at the
right,
office and half at home. And so you still need to have that
right.
space.
Yeah,
But it needs to kind of, be multi-purpose in many ways. So helping a lot of people.
interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no kidding. Has
Mm-hmm.
there been any like projects that you worked on that really stick out as being incredibly unique? Without, if you're allowed to share whatever that is, any like I don't know, indoor sporting spaces, or I don't know how crazy some things might get. But has there been like one or two or a few that stick out that are very unique?
It's funny because people ask me a lot, what's your favorite project? What's your favorite project? And if I'm being totally honest, my favorite project is the one I'm working on right now because I'm fully invested in that
Awesome.
project when I'm working on it.
Okay.
And I look at the minute details, and I am loving whatever project it is in that I'm working on. We have worked on some really neat things. We did a home gym in the basement over in Charleswood. We have designed a home theater, another home gym. We did like a dog wash station in a laundry room.
Oh, cool.
Yeah,
That is
so
neat.
there have been some really neat things. A whole like 2-story addition on the back of a house, and it's really neat because even though I've been an interior designer for 15 years now, and Karina has been a designer for 20 plus, and we do, kitchen after kitchen after kitchen, or addition after addition after addition, and that might seem like very monotonous. Every project is so different, and that's what makes
Yeah.
it so much fun too. And it's every detail is so different too. So we're learning things still to this day. And no project is the same. And it's just super fun and super interesting. And I love learning things every day. So it's great. It's super fun. Yeah.
No, that's awesome. There's I guess what makes the job so unique is the fact that just like different houses are constructed in different ways, and then if you have to add on, there's just like a different approach for managing that. Is that part of the what makes it like so different? Because I
Yeah.
would think over a period of time though, like some kitchens would just be like okay, we're going to, change it from A to B or whatever. But I'm sure there's nuances in every house, right? Because they're built at different times.
There's
And
so many factors. There's so many factors. The where the house is located in Winnipeg can have,
right,
influence.
yeah,
Then the age of the home has influence. The homeowner themselves obviously have influence. Um,
right,
the way it was constructed. Sometimes even the original builder has influence. There were certain builders, for instance, in the 50s that built things a very specific way
huh,
that maybe a builder isn't doing now.
yeah,
So, like the builder of the house that I'm in right now, like apparently they built quite a few houses in the neighborhood, and they built them in a very specific way. And there's nothing wrong with that way. It's just that
you just
each builder is so different.
understanding that. Yeah,
So it's interesting because we can go in and do kind of a very basic or a builder basic sort of thing, but um, it's more interesting to do something that's really kind of honed in on the homeowner, the area, all those sorts of factors coming together into one thing. So each project
totally.
is different and has so many different factors, and it makes it very exciting and interesting. So
No, I think that is an incredible wealth of knowledge, even knowing that piece from like builders in different areas of the city, because that must help incredible. Like you having that wealth of knowledge there
mhm.
about those specific details about those folks has got to be very helpful for you and understanding and being able to better service your clients on their needs too. Because
And I mean,
with the
if we don't know the answer, we likely know somebody who does. So
right,
we'll bring in our
awesome,
consultants as needed. So yeah,
cool, that
it's
is
good.
very awesome.
Mhm.
What would be and what's to start this process off and then do that? Does someone reach out and find you through website? Do they call you? What's the best avenue to guide someone that way?
Yeah, so the best way to reach out is via our website. We have a button up in the top corner that says contact, and that's the best way to reach out because it takes you to a form, and you fill out the form, and that's all the kind of very basic information that we need in order to schedule a discovery call. That discovery call really gets the process started of getting to know you, seeing if we're a good fit to work together, and if your project is a good fit, and then from there we schedule the rest. So that's the best way. Click on that contact button.
Awesome. Contact
Mhm.
button on and sure, what is the website again? Is it Bungalow Interior Design?
It's bungalow I.
We'll have it listed on Bungalow ID. Okay, we'll have it listed on the on the posts and stuff here, so folks should be able to find that, no problem. How about social medias? Do you guys post much of your stuff on there as well? And how do they? What are the links, I guess, for that? Just to
Yeah,
say some
so
of them out loud, anyways.
we're most active on Instagram just because it's a visual platform. We do a lot of visual
Very
things.
much so.
But it's
Yeah.
at bungalow.i.d, bungalow.i.d, and
Yep.
that's where we usually post. We do have a Facebook page, of course, but best to follow us on Instagram, and you can get to there through our website as well. So yeah,
Awesome. No, I think this has been absolutely awesome. Getting to chat a little bit more of this. I was so happy to hear some of your answers. One, just out of my general curiosity, I'm sure other folks are interested in this space too, and especially when considering, you know, renovation or curiosity around that. I think, as you just mentioned there too, one of the first steps is definitely reach out, find out what the project really looks like.
Mhm.
I'm sure not all discovery calls lead to a giant reno. Some of them may, or design. Some of them may just be like a suggestion in terms of like maybe something they can change within their space. That's just an assumption I'm making, but I'm
Yeah,
sure by the sound of things.
that's what the discovery call is for, right? It's getting to know you, but it's also getting to know your project. Is it a small thing? Is it a large thing?
Yeah,
Seeing where you kind of fit in and what we can do to help you. So um, that's essentially what a discovery call is really just how can we help you? How can we help you achieve what you want to achieve? So yeah,
cool.
yeah.
That is awesome. Well, Rachel, thanks so much for making time today. It's been a great conversation
Thank
about
you.
Bungalows and more.
Yes. Yes, bungalows and more. There's a little plus sign in our logo,
Oh, is it? Oh,
and that
your
is
logo
to
gets better by the minute.
that's to signify that we do more than bungalows. You know, it's bungalows and more, just like you said. So, yeah.
So much. We're going to chat more after this for sure.
Yeah.
So thanks so much.
Okay. Thanks so much.